Okay, this is a video that is going to be long, but hopefully those who spend the time watching it will have a huge impact in their life to definitely change everything. But before I go into that, I want to discuss a particular thing, because I'm going to talk about a lot of things in here. One is how you can change your life and make it better, and how your life got to where it is right now. So the first thing that we need to cover is, for many people, as I continue to talk, you're going to go conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. And that's a word that was created after, a phrase that was created after the assassination of Kennedy. And the purpose of that was to keep people from investigating his assassination. Now, today we know that the official story, what happened to him, isn't true. Everyone in the world knows that. The information has been released, but for decades, people, believed that wasn't what happened. They didn't need this sort of official narrative to know that that wasn't what happened. They could use their brains. But they came out with this phrase called conspiracy theory, and what this phrase meant was nut job, lunatic. The interesting thing is the speech that got Kennedy killed, he mentioned a great conspiracy to enslave every man, woman, and child. A global conspiracy. And so, by that logic, then the President of the United States was a conspiracy theorist. But a lot of people don't make that kind of leap, but those are the facts. That's what he said, and he ended up getting killed, and that right there would be proof of a conspiracy, wouldn't it? So what is a conspiracy? We'll get to that in a second. But what's a theory? Because we want to break down conspiracy theory are two words. So what conspiracy theory actually means? It doesn't mean you're a nut job. But if you say conspiracy theorists say this, then the average person will go, oh, so it's not true. This is what we have been programmed to believe since Kennedy. But it in fact is not true. So people don't want to be called conspiracy theorists, because they've been taught that it's bad, and even conspiracy theorists will say they're not conspiracy theorists because they're even, brainwashed into this idea. And it's like, no, you are a conspiracy theorist, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to show that to you. So what's a theory? According to Webster's dictionary, a plausible or scientifically acceptable general principle or body of principles offered to explain a phenomenon, a wave theory of light. Now, a theory isn't necessarily true. It goes through different phases, okay? But a theory is a plausible, meaning there's a good likelihood. It's just an idea. If you just think of something, it's just an idea. You have to present evidence to make it a theory, okay? And it has to be plausible or scientifically acceptable general principles or bodies of principles offered to explain the phenomenon, okay? So it isn't, like, for example, the theory of relativity is only a theory. And as long as it's been around, it's never been turned into the law, which would mean that it has been proven to be a reality, okay? The same with the theory of evolution. In all these years, they've never been able to take it out of the theory phase. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't know what theory means. That means in all these years that this theory of evolution has been around, they haven't found one thing to make it into a law, to say, we have proof. Because once you have proof, then you have then it changes from a theory. Okay? And in the world of conspiracy theories, that's called conspiracy fact. Okay? In science, it would be, for example, a law. It would change from theory to a law once you have something to prove it. So there's a lot of things that people see as facts when they are in fact only theories. Okay? So if we can accept and not that I do, but for those who do, the vast majority of people accept the theory of relativity and they accept the theory of evolution. So if we can accept those as having credibility, real credibility, then that should tell you that a conspiracy theorist has real credibility. Okay? It means when you hear conspiracy theory, it doesn't mean turn around, run, it's a nut job, don't listen to them. It means listen to them. They've got interesting facts to share with you. But as I said, by changing the definition of this word, then what we have is people dismissing it. And these are ways that you can control populations and people, because most people do not think. The vast majority of people do not think. They're just sheep and they just go wherever the herd goes. The vast majority of people do. And that's important information to know for what I'm going to talk about later, about how you can change your life, because it's all within your power to change your life. But you can't continue to act like the sheep. You got to start thinking for yourself. Then everything becomes easier. Life isn't easy for the sheep. If the sheep wants to go somewhere else, he doesn't go somewhere else. He follows the crowd. If the sheep wants a better life, he doesn't get a better life. He follows the crowd. In order for the sheep to be other than just a typical sheep for slaughter, he must start thinking for himself. So now let's go to conspiracy. And conspiracy is the act of conspiring together. They were accused of conspiring to commit a murder. So, for example, that's another thing that most people believe. A conspiracy is something that isn't true. What does a conspiracy mean? It's something that isn't true. No, that's not what it means. It means people, two or more, are conspiring, working together to do something bad. Okay? An agreement among conspirators and uncovered a conspiracy against the government, a group of conspirators. So, for example, if you're going to rob a bank, all the getaway driver, the lookout guy, all those people are conspiring to rob the bank. They all have a part in that. So that's an important distinction, because as I continue to talk, it's probably going to trigger, oh my God, it's conspiracy theory. Yes, it is conspiracy theory. Part of it. The vast majority of it isn't. But it's important for you to have this basic information for you to be able to break free from the web that you're caught in. Interesting choice of words there. For those of you who have been with me for a while. Anyways. So, for those of you that, a lot of people believe in certain conspiracies. Most people believe in certain conspiracies and certain people and certain things. And they go, oh, these are the bad guys, or these are the bad guys, or these are the bad guys, or these are the bad guys. And the true reality is life is not as ugly and people are not as horrible as you think they are. And life is not as bad as you think that it is. You've just been programmed and trained to believe that, to be in fear and to be kept in the slave state that most people live in. So, you hear about, here's some common conspiracies. The Vatican, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, Islamic extremists, the Jews, and many Bilderberg, many others. And these conspiracy theories are very, very good theories. You can find all kinds of evidence and proof to make them facts. But there's a little bit of information very few people actually know. And that is that they're all actually the same people, the same groups. And they've been controlling the world for at least 2,000 years. I mean, maybe there's people out there that may be able to track them back farther than that, but they've controlled the world for at least 2,000 years. They've corrupted all religion. A lot of people don't understand that God didn't make religion. You know, God only has one message. He didn't make religion. Man made religion because religion is profitable. So these people control the Jewish religion, the Christian religion, the Islamic religion. They actually control all of them, but the reason that I'm not bringing the others in is because of the interesting fact of the three that I just named believe they worship the same God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. While other religions, you know, they might not worship God. They might worship Satan. They might worship the earth. They might worship all these other things. But those three religions have the same God and the same teachings. And the only reason it doesn't look like they have the same teachings is because of this particular group. Okay? Going in and changing, and they are a satanic group. They worship Satan. And this is something that if I would have said this a couple of years ago, people would have said, oh, she's nuts. But nowadays, people know there's Satanists all over the world in high places, you know, sacrificing children and doing all kinds of horrible things. We've seen this. We've witnessed this. Okay? We have proof of this. We've seen pictures. We've seen videos. Okay? So, again, that's no longer the, you know, that's conspiracy fact. So, back in the early, now most people, and I really do feel for the Jews, because most people believe that it's the Jews. And it isn't the Jews. It isn't that race of people called the Jews. Okay? It isn't the descendants of Israel, which was a man. Okay? But back about 2,000 years ago, these people were doing so much evil. It was so vile and so contemptible, even though their king was a vile and evil person and should have went, hey, you know, what you reap what you sow. He demanded that they, maybe I have the facts wrong on that. I'm thinking, and it's like, wait a minute, okay. A couple thousand years ago, because of the evil that these people were doing, they were ordered to pick a religion, and they got to pick from those three. Okay? From Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. And so the king looked at all of them, and he chose Judaism. Now, they were a people that practiced black magic, and, you know, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, magic isn't real. No, magic is real. It's just not what you think it is. But magic is real. They practiced, you know, child sacrifices. They did all this because they served Satan. And so they became Jews. They converted to Judaism. And they sort of created a new Judaism called the Mudic Judaism. Okay, and the Talmud and the Torah, which is from God, are they're like night and day. They're like opposites of each other. But these people believe that you must follow the Talmud and the Torah. Well, and if it's not in the Torah, then it's in the Talmud. Okay. Now again, these people are not the Jews. These are different people. They've also infiltrated the Christian religion in 325 AD. They created the Christian religion. Before that, the followers of the Messiah were called the Nazarenes, not Christians, the Nazarene, because he was from Nazarene. So, and then later again, they did the same thing and they created the Islamic religion long after that prophet had passed. And they changed that religion through something called hadiths, where they, have it's like, again, like a totally separate book of information that contradicts what these prophets taught for all three of them. And what's the purpose of this? Well, it's to get them to fight against each other and kill each other, because not only that, but also to lead them to hell. Okay, so many of these religions and the people that are in them are not bad people. Some of them are, of course, that's those people, okay, and ignorant people. One of the things that they do is they will like go into, places where people are uneducated, they can't read, they're really, really poor, and they go, this is your enemy, and this book from God says that. And they just tell them that it says all this stuff, and they have no idea. And so they believe it. And they make up lies about, what kind of benefits God is going to give them if they do that. So, so at the time when they were ordered to commit to change, what was it that they were doing that caused this to happen? It's really interesting. They would do kind of like what you see with the Knights Templar, which came later. Supposedly the Knights Templar were there to protect people who were making pilgrimage, but and that's really not what they were doing. What they were doing was making it so hard for people to travel with money that they would have to come. Problem, reaction, solution is from them, okay? So they create the problem, the people react, and then they create the solution. But the people don't understand that it's them on both sides. And that's been going on, like I said, for thousands of years. So that's one of the things that they did. So they created banking. So how far back do they go? Well, I said a couple thousand years, but definitely to the time of the Messiah, right? Because what was one of the things that he's known for doing? Turning over the tables of the money changers, which are what? Bankers. Okay, so at least at that time. And the Prophet Muhammad also battled against those same types of people, and that's why he warred against those people, because they were spreading corruption in the earth. And then Moses, of course, those people were being persecuted and claiming to be gods and that sort of thing. So again, we can say back to Moses, right? And we can take it back even to before Noah. So when I say 2,000 years, it's not a hard and firm number, because like I said, it goes even farther back. But what they were called changes, but it's still the same people. So we know at least for the last 2,000 years that they've been called the Khazarian Mafia. They've been 2,000 years ago they were called the Khazarian Mafia, and today they're called the Khazarian Mafia, although they go by other names. The next thing that they did, well, they called them the Masters of the Skies. So they would go, and while people, kings, royalty, whatever, were traveling through some land, they would rob them, kill them, and assume their identity. Okay? And they've been doing that for a very, very, very long time. People talk, there's a lot of conspiracies that are just plain BS, and that keeps people from seeing the truth. Things like cloning and blank people. Yeah, we have cloning, but this whole idea that they've cloned a blank and then they just plug in this person's DNA and it changes into that person is ludicrous, okay? But those things keep people distracted from the truth. Those types of conspiracy theories keep people distracted from the truth. There's a lot of very famous people whose job it is to keep people distracted, and they do a very good job doing it. Okay? So, and if they're not talking about this, they either don't know what they're talking about, or they're an agent tour for those organizations. So, they own all of the media across the world. They own all the central banks, and nearly all of the countries now have central banks. And the last countries that we recently went to war and bombed back to the Stone Ages, for whatever country you're in if you're in the West, they didn't have central banks before that. They do now. Okay? So, like I said, they went in and they assumed they took over the roles of the royalty and the leaders. They killed them and then they pretended to be them, which was really easy many, 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 many years ago. 500 years ago, it was really easy to do that. You could kill the queen and assume the role of the queen. Nobody would know. No one ever seen the queen up close. They don't know what she looks like. And how many people look like other people? There's lots of people that look like me. I see them all the time. People tell me all the time, oh, you look like this person. And, oh, you look like this person. And, oh, you look like this person. And if you don't see them up close, it's really easy to do it. Okay? So, and they're very, very, they're very, very key to interbreed. That's why if you look at the presidents of, going back all the way, back, you will see that like Bush and Obama are related. Carter, all of them, they're all related. Okay, why? Because they're the same bloodline. So, this is just the way that it is. You can look all this stuff up on your own. This has even been in mainstream media, how they're all related. One thing about sociopaths is they sort of, I've heard people tell me that they're really moral and religious people, and they follow their religion very keenly, their religion to Satan, and that's why they do it. But I don't believe that to be the case. That's why they tell you, because they have to. It's part of the legal contract, that kind of thing. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case, because I've known sociopaths who weren't Satanists, and they do the same exact thing. It's like it's that evil spirit kind of thing. It's when someone's evil people tend to act the same way. Whether they've outwardly, come and, because not everybody who's a Satanist was born a Satanist. A lot of people chose to be Satanists. A lot of famous people for wealth and that sort of thing. So you have this system that allows them to go in and filter into all over the world in all kind of aspects of government. And there's lots and lots of organizations. There's like George Soros, there's Fethullah Gulen, there's the Rothschilds, the Bilderbergs, there's tons of them, but they're all the same people, but they're master of disguise. And they are like a virus, not like a virus, like a parasite That's a better word. Like a parasite that digs in and moves and sits and waits. So these people control. They say that there are some countries that they don't control, but I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think they pretty much control them all. But, only God knows for sure. So they control everything you see and everything you read. And yes, Facebook and Google are part of that. They're not just companies that started up and, oh wow, this is how we got to where, they worked hard, they got investments, they had a great idea, and they built it up, and blah blah. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Facebook, even the president, the original president of Facebook, says, quote, "I don't use that bleep. I wouldn't let my kids use that. They are destroying humanity." You can just Google former executives of Facebook, and you'll see all kinds of things that the former executives are actually saying about those companies. So the interesting thing is people are starting to wake up and see the truth. And it's changing really, really quickly. It didn't used to be this way. People have come to the conclusion that this thing that's been going on about Islam isn't actually Islam. It's actually something else. And that was not just like a year ago. Nobody, conspiracy theorists said it, but normal people didn't say those things. But now people are starting to wake up. That these people that are doing these things in the name of religion are not really that religion. Because that's not what that religion teaches. And they can do things like, make false translations of their scripture and put it online and that sort of thing. That's another way to make people believe things. But it's a very, very, it's a very huge network. And they control 99.999999999% of all the money in the world. And all the 7.5 billion of the rest of us get what's left. So, like I said, it's all of them. And the reason they blend in and they create these different groups is because they need to protect themselves. Because they've said themselves, for example, I can't remember which one of the Rothschilds, but actually there's quotes from several different people from these different groups that said, if the people knew, like for example, one quote is, if the American people knew the truth, they would lynch us all. That's just an example of a quote. But they're from different countries. And these people have actually been kicked out of over 100 countries, completely banned. Unfortunately, so have the people who actually are their religion. No Jews are allowed. And I don't know the exact number of how many countries they absolutely cannot go into. They cannot visit. They cannot go there. And it's not, before you go, oh, well, it's Muslim countries. There's not 100 Muslim countries. It's countries like, all throughout Europe. When Hitler was doing what Hitler was doing, whatever that was, we'll probably never know the truth because, like I said, they change history. I would say that George Orwell really had insight into these people, but he told the story in a different way. He never said who they were, but he definitely said what they were doing. And yes, he said it in books, and you can go, well, that's science fiction. But no, if you ever heard him talk, he said the same thing, screaming, turn off your effing television. Stop listening to them. They're controlling you. So, The reason to separate into sort of these different groups is because in the past, we've been taught that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. Well, it was for them. For us, it was a really, really lucky day. We should look at Friday the 13th and go, that's a really, really lucky day for mankind. Because, and you can look this up. I don't want to pull out the exact details, but the several hundred years ago, there was a guy on horseback carrying information, and an act of God happened, which was he got hit by lightning, and they found his body, and what he was carrying was secrets about the Illuminati. I believe it was the Illuminati. Anyways, look it up. And they, because it really doesn't matter. The names don't matter. That's why I don't go, oh, well, this one's called this and this one's called this, because it doesn't matter. Because what it is the Khazarian Mafia. So on that day, they found proof of one of these groups, which is, as I said, the same thing. And the king killed them all, and killed them really, really violently, and tortured them, trying to find out the secrets of who everybody else was involved in. But because they learned all of these things that were really, really, really bad, they learned about the conspiracy theory, and it happened on Friday the 13th, and that's why you've been trained to think that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day, but it isn't. It was a very lucky day for humanity, because it slowed them down for a time. If that event hadn't happened, things would be far worse than they are today. So, they control the education system. They control, doctors and the big pharmacy companies. Well, all pharmacy companies. Because drugs are just a lie. Drugs just make you, they cover up symptoms, but it's kind of like, if your brand new Mercedes was in a car accident and you got an artist to come and put Play-Doh over top of it and make it look, and paint it and all that other stuff, make it look as if it hadn't been in an accident. He's a really good artist, and you couldn't even tell. It still doesn't mean the car is not damaged and not in an accident. So again, all of these things are designed to control the people. They're also designed to keep people from seeing signs from God. Just like the days of Pharaoh, when Moses brought his signs to the Pharaoh, and he told the people that it was sorcery. And they were familiar with sorcery, and so they believed that it was sorcery, even when two of the most powerful sorcerers saw what Moses did, and immediately, under the threat of having their hands and legs cut off feet cut off on alternate sides and being crucified on a stake, repented and said that there is only one God, the God of Moses. The sheep still believed the Pharaoh, and that's what got them killed, because they didn't choose to think for themselves. So when you come up with all these things like, the government can do this, and the government can do this, and the government can do this. I mean, right now, if God came in and, just started, doing things that he did in the past, like, Sodom and Gomorrah, where they rained down, and this is again, a fact, you can go there and see. It's been proven that it is a fact. Noah's Ark is a fact. All of this stuff has been proven, okay? But if something like that were to happen today, what would the people say? It's HAARP. It's government laser weapons. It's this, it's that, right? So it has sort of a multifaceted purpose, these things that they do. And again, the whole foretelling us, letting us know, like how many things was 9/11 shown in, even the exact story in movies and TV shows and comics and stuff like that before it happened, and many other events that ended up happening. And why? Because sociopaths, it makes them feel smarter. It makes them feel superior. If they tell you and you don't get it, then they're like, well, I told you. You were just too stupid to. I came right out and told you. I came right out and showed you. I made a movie about it. And another interesting thing is one movie that I see a lot of conspiracy theorists quote and use as their lead pitch thing is the movie The Matrix and the red pill and the blue pill. And they don't even get that movie, that the people that are the good guys in the movie are actually the bad guys. Look at their names, look at their ships, and what do they want to bring about? The same thing as the Khazarian Mafia. Zion. And that's where they control the world and everyone else is a slave. Everyone else is cattle. They can do whatever they want with them. That's what Satan has promised them. And that's another thing I don't get when they say, oh, well, God said this. Well, what God said that? So, I mean, that's what they teach. And it's like, I listened to an interesting speech by a guy who was talking about the fact that the Masons have a Bible too. They have a Bible too. It's called the Masonic Bible. It looks exactly the same as the regular Bible. But what they say it means are two totally different things. You can teach people that things mean different things. Something only means one thing, but you can teach people that it means something else. Just like I said at the starting of this video, you can teach people the conspiracy theory means something completely different, and that is proof right there. And so, one thing that you do need to understand is most people are selfish and egotistical. Most people are selfish and egotistical, ignorant, and so they're not going to follow around and go, oh, I get it. Whatever it is that you're telling about, whether it's business, whether it's, the banking system, no matter what it is, the vast majority of people that you tell anything to, they won't believe you. They didn't believe we'd ever be able to fly. They didn't believe we would ever be able to travel on a locomotive. In fact, when they said that they're going to make the steam locomotive, everybody was like, oh my God, everybody. Oh my God, you can't do that. You can't propel the human body past 15 miles per hour. Their skin will be ripped off. This is what people believe. So, you have to learn to think for yourself. Until you learn to think for yourself and be brave enough to think for yourself. And when somebody calls you a name, just shrug it off. I used to tell I had a child in my care who was very sensitive, and she would come home from school crying and about how she somebody called her fat or somebody called her ugly, and she was blonde-haired, curly. She was a beautiful little girl, curly blonde ringlets, Shirley Temple type looking little girl. And I just laughed at her, and I was like, why are you crying about that? Is that true? Is it true? And she would say, no, it's not true. Well, of course it's not true, so why are you crying about it? So, and what I taught her is what people say about you doesn't matter. It doesn't make it true just because people say it. It doesn't make it true. So this is the intro, and I'm going to continue this in another part, and we're going to talk about, from this point, now that we've laid this groundwork, how to change your life, and now to make it better. And if wealth is what you're seeking, then how to accomplish